ourselves, Nikunj, for a good Friday. The SGX Nifty as well is indicating at a positive open, and Wall Street is gaining.
You're sounding very chirpy today. Am I missing on something?
It's Friday. That's the only reason.
No, it could be a good or a decent Friday. And I'm hoping it could be a good and a decent Friday because Wall Street handover is decent. There is a bit of a relief because Nifty has managed to find support from key levels. A lot of market men are now started hunting for value once again. When I have conversations with them, the technical setup is indicating that there could be a bounce for the market looking at the setup we are in. So I don't think we've turned the tide per se, but the block deal in Adani Group of stocks, where the dollar index positioning is, how at lower level there are now more buyers and less sellers. If I string everything together, I'm hoping that we could be in for a day of strength, stroke bounce, rather than a day of numbness, range bound movement and sideways action. It's only purely based on data and what we have in terms of the market technical setup. I'm hoping that we could be in for a good, stroke decent and a okay Friday.
I'm happy to be proven wrong with respect to my color choice today because we've seen a lot of red off late. So happy to see some green on the screen. And that's likely to happen, Nikunj, right? And the thing that you pointed out about the Adani Group of stocks, wherein there was that block deal that happened worth around 15,500 crores. A very strong hand has now come into the names like Adani Ports, Green Enterprises, Transmission, etc. What's your take of what will this mean for Adani Group of companies? Have they turned the tide, you believe?
I mean, the chatter in the newsroom, Ajay had it that, look, a large investor has checked in, and indeed a large investor has checked in. So let's first introduce the investor.
Sure.
Who is this fund? It's a marquee fund run by Rajiv Jain. He's an old India hand. In his previous avatar, he was managing money for Wantable, and that time also understanding and his faith in India, I think, was absolutely remarkable. So there is an old India hand which has checked into Adani Group of stocks, and it's a sizable commitment of 15,000 crore by a single fund into a group where normally global institutional investors have really shied away. So in the glory days also, you did not have such large marquee funds into the Adani Group of stocks. And here's a guy who comes in and checks in 15,000 crore, one single shot in 4 or 5 Adani Group of companies. That is just some kind of an endorsement coming from a very smart marquee fund manager that he is truly finding value or feels that the worst is behind. I was reading his comments earlier on various other publications, and that time his view was that the Adani Group of companies have a lot of debt, and that was the reason why he did not participate in them. But I guess there is value which clearly seems to be there. So I think in terms of the profile of the investor who's checked in, and the name who's checked in, and the kind of commitment what we have, I mean, we've had several interactions with him on ET now in his previous avatar. So you pretty much know that his understanding of India is very deep. And there's something I learned from Rajiv a couple of years ago. He said, I never waste a crisis. So is this the crisis where he is not wasting it in buying into Adani Group of stocks? So that's part A of the story. Let's discuss part B now.
Yeah. No, but part A, just wanted to understand a bit more about his psyche. Is he one of those players who enters just because he's seeing that there's a lot of risk-reward play? Or is he the person who looks at deep fundamentals as well and does a bit of long-term research?
No, it's long-term. I don't think what I've seen him manage Wantable and his current fund right now in his new avatar, the holdings pretty much reflect that it's not you're always looking for value, you're always looking for risk-reward ratio, but it's not like he's buying stocks for years and for quarters, not for months and not for days and months. That's one. Now, part B of the story, I think, is the understanding one, is the important one. What it means for Adani Group of stocks, what it means for Adani Group, and what it means for markets. The money in this case, I'm just going to break it for our viewers, it comes at the promoter level. So 15,000 crore plus suddenly comes into the promoter kitty. Now, if the promoter has got 15,000 crore, what it will do? Well, obviously, you would like to repay your personal debt obligations. That could be loans against shares, or where you've raised capital, or where you've raised debt. That's at the personal balance sheet. B, that also means that from a market standpoint, not that there was a default risk in any of the Adani Group of stocks in terms of the debt repayment. They have really paid their debt. That fear, in a sense, now gets arrested because promoters are flushed with cash. Third, from a sentimental rub-off standpoint, when the Adani saga broke out, lenders, they suffered. Now this also is going to be having a rub-off effect on the lenders, and especially PSU banks, which have a large exposure to Adani Group of companies. Bear in mind, the money does not come, Anisha and Avan, into the balance sheet of the companies. This is coming at a promoter level. So this is not like Adani FPO, where the money would have come into Adani Enterprises. The money in this case is clearly coming at promoter level, where they would be able to repay their debt obligations. Look, the money will come back into the system. How and how it would be done, we don't know. We've not got a comment from Adani Group right now. So I'm assuming that this is going to be a relief. This is going to calm a lot of nerves, and hopefully we will see stability in Adani Group of stocks now.
Yeah, this is the big